Fearless investors, welcome back to another week. This week's topic is a topic that I get a lot of questions for, and I like to think I'm good at it, but this guest is one of the best at it, and that is raising private capital for your deals, for your CASTR deals, for your short-term rentals, being able to raise money from the people around you. And what I like about this is Amy Mahjoory, who is our guest, who is an expert capital markets raiser, goes through her story on how she raises capital and how she executes with really just the people that are in arm's reach. And I've said this before, right? That your next business partner, your next capital markets partner, they're within arm's reach. You just haven't had that conversation, right? So Amy does a good job of kind of walking us through that process of her journey. And then also she shares with us some really solid nuggets of how to execute on these deals. So I'm super stoked for it. Make sure you watch till the end because I got some updates on the CASTR community. Let's dive into it. Fearless investors, welcome back. I am super stoked for this one. This is a friend of mine that I just recently met. We met at the Deal Champs event. I was super impressed with your presentation. And then as we've gotten to know each other, we're going to be doing deals together. And I know that you are the queen bee at raising capital. And so I'm super excited to have you. Amy, thank you so much for being here.
Of course. Thank you. I'm so grateful that we had a chance to meet and chat a couple months ago.
Absolutely. You brought the house down. I feel like capital markets and raising capital is such a unique skill set that you have in spades. And so I'm excited because there's a lot of viewers here today that I know probably have questions and want to know kind of the ins and outs. And so I'm excited to dive in. Before we do that, why don't you give people kind of an introduction about who you are, what you do, and then we'll dive into your story a bit, and then we'll kind of transition to capital markets. So if you don't mind, let's hear a little bit about your story.
Of course. Yeah. Hey, everyone. For those of you who don't know me, my name's Amy Mahjoory. And I've been investing in real estate over the last 10 years. And during that time, I've raised millions of dollars in real private money. We'll talk about that today for hundreds of real estate transactions all over the country. And it's cool because I no longer have to worry about the money problem or scramble to the closing table, right? Or like freak out that the deal may not go through because as many of you know, like the one of the hardest things we are tasked with is finding a great deal. So once we find that deal, we don't want it to slip through the cracks because we couldn't structure the funding. Yep. But it wasn't always this easy. Background's very traditional, Middle Eastern upbringing, which means my family holds education at a very high standard. I'm the only one with just an MBA. I got my MBA, worked for Dell Computers for 14 years, which I still cannot believe. And then 10 years ago, it was the turning point for me. I left my job at Dell. I started investing in real estate full time simply because I was an HGTV junkie. And I didn't know what I was doing. I was a brand new part-time real estate investor. Yes, I invested in a coaching program. They taught me how to hire contractors, build a team, analyze deals. And I'm still a part of different masterminds, coaching programs, personal coaches, business coaches. And still 10 years later, I've yet to find one community that actually teaches us as real estate investors how to solve the money problem. Yep. So I did a bunch of cool things, wrote a book, did HGTV work, blah, blah, blah. And then 3.5 years ago at the height of COVID, I started the Raising Private Money Masterclass, which is a coaching program that teaches us how to raise real private money the right way from the right people without having to depend on our friends and family members. So I'm still flipping houses. I love flipping houses. I'll never stop doing that.
Love it, love it, love it. And so you said a lot there, and I want to kind of focus in on, you know, a part of your journey, parts of your journey as you've explained it, right? So you started in real estate. Sounds like you have a huge education, and then you jumped into the corporate world. So when and why did you make that transition from corporate to real estate, to jumping into the capital markets? Give us more insight about that decision.
Yeah. So I went from corporate America into real estate. And so here's what happened, you guys, is I hated my job at Dell. I'm very transparent about that. It wasn't what like motivated me to get out of bed every morning. And yes, I was an HGTV junkie and I thought my dream job was going to be with Nike. And so I was like, I'm going to try to get this job at Nike. In the meantime, let's just flip a couple of houses just
Yeah.
for fun, like just to make money and spend it on stupid stuff. And, but I'm still competitive. I'm a product of competitive sports. I just have a very strong type A personality. And so even as just a hobby, I wanted to learn how to flip houses the right way. So I hired a coach.
Yeah.
And it's crazy because my very first year as a brand new part-time real estate investor while still working my full-time job at Dell, because I knew how to raise money, I didn't know I was just naturally good at it. I had a goal of flipping 1 to 2 houses. I ended up actually flipping 10 high-end properties in downtown Chicago my very first year as a brand new part-time real estate investor, just because
Wow.
I knew how to raise money. Yeah, it was crazy. So then what happened was at the end of that year, 2 things happened. Number 1 is, yes, I genuinely fell in love with the transformation process. But number 2, I saw there was no cap on my financial earning potential. And then immediately real estate became the game changer, quit my job at Dell. I've been a full-time investor ever since.
Sheesh. That's awesome. So 10 in your first year.
10 in my
Uh,
first year.
that's unheard of. That's crazy. And so, and honestly, I feel like, because a lot of times you hear the story of corporate America into being a full-time real estate entrepreneur. There's either a jump of faith or a transition, and yours seemed to be more of like a transition, or like, and so like I guess at what
Yeah.
point in that first year of doing 10 did you decide, okay, I'm good now, like I'm leaving Dell?
Yeah. So, and you're absolutely right. Now, look, I'm going to just use the word lucky. I was very lucky because I happened to accidentally find an amazing general contractor. That is not normal. It is very hard still today in the different markets I work in. You've probably experienced it too, to find a great general contractor. I got so freaking lucky. It's not even right. So what happened was, as I started flipping, I built a lot of confidence and faith in my general contractor, his team. I'm not about subbing. I don't care about saving 20% to sub jobs out myself. I was very good though at finding like investor friendly realtors. And again, I was a good student. I didn't know, it took me 8 months. That very first year, it wasn't until I woke up on month 8 and things started to come together. But I'm the type of student where it's like, I don't need to understand why I'm doing what I'm doing. Hey, coach, just tell me what to do. Tell me what to do. Tell me what to do, and I'll do it. And so I was a great student. I
That's
followed
powerful.
their system and it just worked. But for me, I was comfortable quitting Dell 6 months in because I had 3 projects under construction and I knew they were going to turn a profit. But I didn't, because I'm stubborn. I was trying to get a severance package. So I dragged it out for a year. And the only reason I quit was because my friend, who was an executive at the time, called me and he was like, Amy, you need to quit your job now. And I'm like, why? Because I was like doing the bare bones minimum too. And he goes, well, I just got out of an executive review and they're about to put you on a performance improvement plan. So I was like, okay, fine. So I quit my job. But again, for me, I'm on the extreme opposite end of the spectrum where I don't have like a rainy day fund. I don't save money. Like I have a goal, I commit to it. I'm going to figure it out. So failure was not an option.
Yeah.
Um, so for me, once I quit my job at Dell, I wasn't even scared. There was no fear. I was excited. And it was like this huge weight had been lifted off my shoulders, but because I knew real estate was for me.
Yeah. So that's very interesting because I feel like that is, we both know that that is really the entrepreneurial start, is when you can get over the fear of loss and get over like, hey, my job is my safety net. Honestly, it sounds like, were you born with that, or like
Mm.
was there things that happened in the corporate America that led you to like be
Oh,
okay? Because I know a lot of people that would be looking at, okay, I got 3 deals under construction, that would be like, no, I'm not going to count my chickens until they hatch, right? But for you, it seemed like you just had a lot of confidence doing that. Where did that come from?
my mom. So my mom instilled
Love
an
it.
insane amount of confidence in me the minute I was born. But I freaking hated my job. I hated my job. Like, and so here's another, we all are at different stages of life, right?
Yep.
So when I started 10 years ago, I was 34. I was single. I had no husband, no family, no kids. I literally had zero responsibility. So I could have cared less if my $87,000 a year job was gone. I'll go wait tables. I don't care because I
Wow.
hated my freaking job so much. So at the same time, though, I had this community, right? I had my coaches, I had my community. They were like-minded. They were doing the same thing. So I just leaned into them. I had questions.
Yeah.
I would call them and ask them. So I didn't feel alone. There were a ton of people, especially my family, who didn't support me. They thought I was crazy and it was so freaking annoying. But again, I was so confident. I was like, forget you. I don't need your support. I just stopped talking to them about it. And I just talked to my friends and the people who were doing the same things as me. And it took my family 2 years, my mom, dad, my siblings, to finally come around and be like, wow, like I didn't think you could do it. That's exactly what my dad said. Like, but you did.
Wow, thanks for the confidence, Dad.
It's okay. It's a whole nother conversation.
Yeah. So that's awesome. So let's dive into that a little bit. Because obviously we know that the coaching space, there can be a lot of wolf in sheep's clothing, right?
Yeah.
So how did you identify, coach, that, the sounds of it, it was really your ace in your pocket in doing this and making that transition. Talk us through that journey of how you found one, your best practices, best recommendations as people are looking to make that jump and looking for a mentor.
Okay. So this is a terrible example, but this is what happened. And then I'll tell you what to do moving forward and what I did. So I am so freaking naive and gullible still, personally and professionally. So I heard this ad on the radio, the ads we all hear, like, give us all your money. We'll teach you how to flip houses. And I was like, that's a great idea. So I went to this 3-day workshop, which was like the sales pitch, right?
Yeah.
To their $25,000 coaching program. Now I love these guys. These guys are good friends of ours. They've grown into good friends of ours. They taught me everything, I know, and I wouldn't be where I am today without them. But I fell for the pitch. But even when I was like writing that check, I was like, I don't even care. I said to them, I go, if this is a scam, I go, that's okay. Like, of course I did research online and stuff, but I was like, oh, this sounds amazing. A completely done for you system. Like, count me in. And I signed up for it. And of course it wasn't a scam and they were amazing. And, but now though, any other mentorship or coach that I invest in, or like my friends or students invest in, I always tell them like, hey, now you're a part of a network, always ask for referrals. So ask people where they've had success, who they love. Don't hire a coach if you're not vibing with them.
Yep.
So there are a lot of things that you guys can do, but I would say start with referrals from your trusted investors in your network and see, why they picked their coach and how their experience has been.
Yeah. What I love about your story, exactly how you said it, is I think it proves the point that, really your best asset in any business and in any entrepreneurial venture is yourself. Right.
Yeah.
Like, and I think you can look back now and see that, a lot of the information that those coaches probably provide, you probably could have Googled and found, right? But the value of like a community is really the accountability, right? And like putting your money where your mouth is. Like, now you spent this money, now I actually got to do what I
Yeah, exactly. Like I didn't have the money. I didn't have 25 G's. I put it on a credit card. And it's like, again, you guys, I'm very direct. I'm not scripted. If this business is for you, then figure that shit out. Like
100%.
Don't go to YouTube University. Don't go to Bigger Pockets. I love Bigger Pockets. I've done a lot of work with Bigger Pockets, but if this is for you, hire a coach, get the fast track, leverage from their lessons learned, and you're going to see results insanely faster than doing it on your own.
Absolutely. Absolutely. For a lot of different reasons, right? And you're living proof of that. And so I love it. I love it. I love it. So let's kind of take the next step in your journey, right? So you quit corporate America, 10 flips your first year, you find a coaching community that helped you do it. So then where does your real estate journey go from there? Did you continue to flip? And then as you continue to flip, when did you start getting into capital markets?
Well, I started raising money for my very second project because my first project, I didn't raise money. I put my own money into the deal. And that was my biggest mistake / lesson learned, because I wasn't able to buy two turnkey passive income properties that were brought to me like 2 or 3 weeks into the renovation, because now I didn't have the money for the down payment. Everyone's investment strategy is different. So as a flipper and wholesaler, I wanted to leverage other people's money for all of my flips and then use any money that I was making off of those flips or even from Dell to build my passive income and diversify, which means I was going to lend to other credible real estate investors or go buy more turnkey rentals. Or now today, I don't buy turnkey rentals. It's just the natural path of a real estate, professional. I park them into multifamily and commercial syndication. So what happened was I couldn't buy those 2 cash producing properties. And I was like, dang, forget it. I got to prioritize this skill set. So from property number 2, which was almost 10 years ago, I started raising private money. But the next thing that happened was I had an immediate tremendous amount of success. And then 2017 came. That was the darkest period of my life, personally and professionally. I'm very open about this. I lost $1.4 million. It was the perfect storm. I've been posting about it on social media. I just sent out a huge email. And without going into all the details, it was a combination of me growing too quickly, not vetting my second general contractor properly, the perfect storm where because of project delays, because of my terrible general contractor, my projects hit the market at the same time as other developers' projects. It was in the middle of winter in downtown Chicago, yada, yada, yada. Looking back now, I did not buy right. I was buying at a 6 to 7% net ROI instead of a 10 to 15% net ROI because they were luxury homes. And so a 6 to 7% ROI was still giving me 120,000, 150,000. Well, one change order on a house like that wipes away your profits, right? So it was like all these things. And that shit sucked. But not once did I think about quitting, exiting the industry, throwing in the towel, filing for bankruptcy, filing for foreclosure. Like I freaking put my head down every single day, problem solved, pivoted. But because I knew how to raise money, I could shift my strategy. So it took me years to rebuild. I had to liquidate all my assets, drain my 401k, put lenders on payment plans, waive their interest. Still till this day, less than a handful, I think it's only 2, have received back 100% of their interest. They got like 90. I'm going to pay them off though. I'm just delaying it because I don't like them, to be quite honest. So I'm just being real. But that's a whole nother conversation. But again, I was burnt out, and then I'm still flipping though on a much smaller scale. And then COVID hit. And so then what happened was I did a bunch of keynote speaking and traveled the country, and it was amazing. I had a little girl at that time. She was 6 months old, and I was bored. I'm like, this is freaking boring. I'm sitting at home. I've got my kid. I don't have my own thing. I'm sick of being burnt out and flipping on a small scale. And then it's like this light bulb went off, and it was like the next thing for me to do, which I believe now has really been my calling. And I thought to myself, for the first 8 years of my career, investors all over the world have been asking me for help raising private money. And I'm like, no, that's a lot of work. I don't want to start a coaching program. But that's what I did. So 3.5 years ago, I hired another coach because I didn't know how to start a coaching program. And she taught me how to launch a coaching program online. And so that's what I did. And now I love it. It's RPM. This is my baby. I am a control freak. I put 25 hours a week into RPM. This is my number 1 priority after being a mom and a wife. And then number 4 are my own projects and flips.
That's awesome. So I kind of breaking down, because I love how obviously you went through the entrepreneurial hero's journey of like, and everybody does it, of like you lose and then you come out of it. So I want to kind of rewind back to that. Like, what were some of the most valuable lessons taught? Like in that.
Number one is we have to buy right. You have to know your numbers. Don't get emotionally attached and never try to force a deal. Even my mom was telling me there were times where I would like try to force deals, and she would feed me my own advice. So now, because I know my numbers like to a T, I'll do the deal all day long. You guys have to have a detailed deal analyzer. So I'll do deals all day long as long as the net ROI is 10% or more. So that's number 1. Number 2 is don't deviate from your standard process. What is your vetting process when you're building your team, when you're hiring general contractors? Because I was so stressed and drinking out of a fire hose, I didn't finish the proper interview process for that second GC who I hired. So that was number 2. And number 3, I think I was probably greedy. My friends and I, other investor friends and I had come up with like a game who's going to get to $1 million in net profit first. So I think the greed made me buy too much too soon,
Yeah.
combined with being a newer investor and not being big enough to handle the capacity. So, I've come a long way. I still struggle with greed, you guys. Like, even when I coach people how to raise money, I'm like, don't give away more than this and never give up equity. Um, we all have strengths and weaknesses. So I think those are the three biggest lessons learned.
Love it. Love it. Love it. So then fast forward, that's because that's gas, right? And those are lessons that are hard earned, right? Not just learned, but you learned it by earning it, by making these mistakes. Now you're better for it. So you jump into coaching. What specifically are you teaching? What can people learn from you?
Yeah, so it's cool and it's easy for me to say that. It is the only done for you, completely done for you raising private money coaching program that exists.
Love
People
it.
will be like, why should I go to you and not your competitor? This is an ego. I don't have competitors. Nobody teaches you guys how to raise real private money from your mailman, from like literally anyone and everyone you encounter the minute you leave your house, who to target, who not to target, what to say, what not to say, how to answer the hard questions. What's the deal flow? Where does the money go? What contracts do you use? What pitch decks do you use? What if they come from Wall Street versus it's your neighbor, right? So it is like straight up, I'm holding your hand every step of the way, and it's lifetime access. So it's cool because everyone in my group, on average, the metric is if you actually follow my system, which is not hard, like these aren't mind-blowing strategies, they're just strategies we've never thought of before, you'll be raising a minimum of 6 figures in 21 days.
Wow. Love it. Love it. Love it. And
Thank
so
you.
can you, because I'm sure there's a lot of people here that are, because capital markets is a big thing, right? Like it's a big segmented industry, right? You have obviously debt, you have private investors, you have, debt funds. Can you give a little bit more context of specifically when you're raising from a private person, what does that mean? What exactly does that mean?
Yeah. So here's what it doesn't mean. This is going to make it easier for you guys. When I talk to you about private money, I'm not talking about hard money, number one, because
Yep.
technically hard money is private equity. They're going to hit you up on LinkedIn and be like, I'm a private money lender. Technically, they are. I'm not talking about financial institutionalized capital. Number two, I'm not talking about somebody brokering deals. There's nothing wrong with brokering deals. I will broker deals. No, you don't need a license to do what I do or what I teach you guys to do. But that's not what I'm talking about. The broker is just the middleman. And then the third thing I'm not talking about are banks, and that includes the investor-friendly credit unions and community banks who may say that they're private, they're small, they're family-owned. So it's anyone and everyone else, anyone and everyone who has cash or assets sitting around collecting dust the minute you leave your house is a private money lender. Your neighbor, people from church, bars, restaurants, airports, airplanes, Uber drivers, people at the grocery store, street festivals, whatever, people who work at hotels, conferences you go to, it's literally everyone. And their backgrounds are all different, right? So we have to know how to approach them and what to say and what not to say, and like how to take them through the proper rapport building process. Because earlier, I didn't say this. What makes RPM unique is I'm going to show you guys how to raise private money without depending on your friends and family members. Because that's what everyone else says. Oh, it's easy. Just go ask your friends and family. What if you don't want to? What if they don't
Yeah.
support you? What if they're not in a position to invest? What if they don't think you have experience, right? So I'm going to show you how to go do that and get a complete stranger into your network, gain their confidence, build that relationship with them so that in as little as 3 weeks, they invest with you.
Love it, love it, love it. That's fire. That's gas, and that is a very niche product that isn't found, right? Because it is such a unique skill set, as I've mentioned. So a question then, because you at this point now have coached, you've spoken all over the world, you have experience in this, you've raised multi seven figures, probably eight figures. What is the biggest mistake you see people make, especially as they're raising private capital?
Yeah, they don't know how to answer the hard questions, such as what if the deal goes south? Or will you sign a personal guarantee? Or what contracts do you use? Or what if something tragic happens? Or show me all the cost variables that go into the deal. Or, hey, you're newer, so I'm going to want 13 or 14%. I don't care. That's not what I'm offering. Things like that. So they don't know how to overcome those objections. They don't know the flow of the money. They don't know how this is so important. to follow up with their private money lenders. So the nurture sequence is really important. And it's just a lot of it too is on the front end, how to structure the deal. And instead of offering them equity, offering them debt in a debt position.
Nice. Love it. Love it. So where do people find you, Amy, specifically? Where can people learn from you?
Instagram. I respond to all my DMs on Instagram at Amy Mahjoory. My website is severely outdated, but you can connect with me. Send me an email to my website, amymahjoory.com. I respond to everything. I don't outsource anything. If you can't tell, I love what I do when it comes to teaching this strategy. I'm a product of coaching. I've seen how coaching has changed my life. So of course, you guys connect with me. Let me know what questions you have, and I'll do what I can to take you to the next level.
Love it, love it, love it. Amy, you have been a wealth of knowledge. I appreciate you coming. Last question I ask to everybody is what is your number one piece of advice for people that are jumping into space?
Ooh, I normally hate these on the fly questions, and this is going to sound so like, of course, this is her response. But for people who are jumping into this space, I would say don't even worry about what your investment strategy is. As you're figuring out your investment strategy or where you want to invest, or as you're trying to figure out how to build your team, focus on learning how to raise private money, because as you're doing those things, you can be raising private money and parking that money into other people's deals as like their capital partner and taking anywhere from 25 to 50% equity on every single one of their deals. So now you're generating multiple streams of income as you build out your own team and your own investment strategy.
Love it, love it, love it. Amy, you are awesome. Thank you. Thank you so much. Again, guys, if you guys want to follow her handle's just below. As always, we appreciate you, Fearless Community, for showing up. Thank you again, Amy. We appreciate you.
Thank you guys so much. Appreciate you.
Hey guys, so hopefully you got as much value out of that as I did. Amy is a queen bee at what she does. She gave a lot of resources. I'm going to provide the link below of how you can get in contact with her and her network and learn from her. The CASTR community as well, some huge updates as we are going to be adding some modules on the capital markets side, among a few other things that are going to help you and give you more tools to be able to go and execute on some of these deals. We keep seeing new students and the new list of students getting bigger and bigger every week. Again, if you have not already reached out to me, got on a call with my team to be able to determine if we can get you with the CASTR community, please do. We're looking for hustlers. We're looking for people that want to be able to go and transact their first deal with none of their own money by utilizing strategies that Amy just talked about, and by buying cash flowing opportunities at incredible interest rates, 4%, 3%. Had another student close a deal just last week at a 3% interest rate. Shout out to John, baby. So again, if you are interested in those resources, make sure you get on a call with my team. The link will be below. Thank you again for being here. We appreciate your support. We wouldn't be what we are without you guys. Appreciate you, Fearless Community. Let's go.